Hey everybody, welcome to another video in my Intro to HTML series. In this video, I'm going to talk about common properties that you would use in working with text. I'm also going to talk about different ways of handling color, and I'm going to review a little bit on font. All right, common properties that you're going to use. Color, background color, font family, font size, font weight. Those are all properties. You may recall from a previous video we talked about a style sheet. A style sheet looks like this. It goes in between the opening head and closing head, and you start with an opening style tag and you have a closing style tag. In the opening style tag you have the type attribute, and inside of there you make a whole bunch of style rules. Style rule looks like this. You select something, you make a declaration block, and then you put properties and values in there. Right? I've selected the paragraph, and all paragraphs are going to have their font color set to red. Let's talk about some of these different properties. This is a property. I've got color, background color, font family, font size, font weight. These are all some of the common ones that you're going to use when modifying type. I'm going to start talking about background, okay? Background is going to control the area, the background of any of our containers. So all HTML elements have a container that contain their content. Some of those containers stretch from edge of screen to edge of screen. Some are confined just to be right around the content. And we're going to talk about those different display levels at another time, not in this video. But basically what you need to know is that behind the content there's always going to be a background, and that background can be filled with a color. I'm going to start by selecting body. Body. When I select body and I set background color, and then I give it some sort of a value, it's going to set the background in the whole window of the browser. If we take a look at this, I set it to red. So the background in the whole body of the browser got set to red. Okay? So the whole browser window is a background of red. If I set the background color of an article, select article, give it a background color, old lace, for example, just the articles would get that background color. Okay, so each one of these articles has their own background color. If I gave header and footer a background color, select header, comma, footer. What I just did there is I have grouped two selectors together to have the same style rule. So header and footer are going to have whatever rules I put in this declaration block applied to both of them at exactly the same. Having a comma separated list here will allow you to group together style rules. So let's say you had 5 or 6 different style rules that are going to do all the same exact thing. You can condense your style sheet by grouping those selectors together with a comma separated list. So I want my header and footer to have the same background color, silver, and you'll see both the header and footer get the silver background. That's the basics of using background color. Let's talk a little bit about how we choose colors. So far all I've been doing is using named colors, the named colors that come right off the top of my head, but those aren't the only colors that are available to me, the ones that I just can remember. There are long lists of colors on the web that you can choose from. To find those, you can search for WebSafe named colors, and you'll get a long list of websites, long list of search hits that will take you to WebSafe named colors. The named colors are all the ones that I've been using so far, but there are more than just the ones I've chosen. The Wikipedia entry has a good list here I could go to that. This website here, htmlcolorcodes.info, is another one. Okay, so I've got a long list of colors here, and you see a bunch of numbers with those. We'll talk about those numbers in a little bit. I'm going to go to the Wikipedia entry first. I'm going to scroll down, and you're going to see a small list of named colors. White, silver, gray, black, red, maroon, all the way down to purple. These aren't the only colors that are available to me, but these are some. Lower, there's a bigger list of named colors that we can choose from. Okay? Things like deep sky blue, Dodger blue, cornflower blue, navy, midnight blue. I think I'm going to select midnight. Nah, I'm going to go with dark khaki. Copy that name. I'm going to paste it into body because I don't like that red color. There we go. That looks a little bit better. So I've got my dark khaki, I've got my old lace, and I've got my silver. But named colors aren't the only options. You'll notice next to these named colors, there are combinations of numbers and letters. The first set, this is going to be our hex value or hexadecimal value. Okay? Hexadecimal is broken up into three parts: the red, the green, and the blue value. And they're two paired numbers, FF, C0, CB. Hexadecimal is a numbering system that is base 16. We count in base 10. In other words, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then it resets to 10 plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, plus 5, up to 20, plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, plus 5. That's base 10. We've been doing that since we were little kids. Base 16 is a little bit different. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, and then it starts with A, B, C, D, E, F. And then we go back to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A, B, C, D, E, F. So it's different. You count up to 16 before you do that, that switch of one of your digits. Okay? Base 16 is made up of the digits 0 through 9 and the letters A through F. So F is going to be the highest value, 0 is going to be the lowest value. If I see something like this, FF, C0, CB, that's going to be FF, which is 100% highest color for red, green, C0, and blue, CB. These each control the frequency or the amount of red, green, and blue in our color. So you'll see things that are in the green range are going to have a higher green value. For example, lime is 00 red, 00 blue, FF for green. Chartreuse, which is also very green, 7F for red, FF for green, 00 for blue. When we look at some of the things that are more in the blue range, let's look at indigo, which has some red in it. It's got 0 green, it's got 82, or I should say 82 blue, and 4B red. Okay? Here's how we use these. I can just select these values. Let's say I just want to take light coral, for example. Select it, and then I can paste it in any of these background colors. I'll paste it right here. I need to take these spaces out because our hexadecimal values are no spaces in there. And before the hexadecimal value, I have to put in the number symbol. Okay, that tells the style sheet that whatever is following is a hexadecimal number. All right, save that, and you'll see when I refresh it, it turned into that dark pink that I just chose. So that's hexadecimal. We've got named colors now, and we've got hexadecimal colors. Those are a couple of different ways to choose colors. Let's move on to modifying the fonts a little bit. I've told you that you can change the color of the font. That's just done with color. We've got font family, font size, and font weight. I'm going to start with setting the font size in the paragraph. Font dash size. This will control how big or how small it is. I can use absolute values like pixels, 26px, save it, refresh in the browser, and you'll see that now my font is 26 pixels. That's really huge for body copy. Generally speaking, body copy is going to be anywhere between about 10 and 16 pixels. Something like that is preferable. Another way to do this is with percents. 100%, 120%. 120% means it'll set it 120% bigger than its default value. Okay? So we've got percentages. There are some other units of measure out there that we're going to get into in later dates. The EM is another one. Like if I did 1.2 EM, it's going to make it, it'll probably stay about the same size. Yeah, it stays the same size because 1.2 EM is 120%. 1.7 EM gets a little bit bigger, it's 170%. And M is a unit of measurement. 1 M is basically, it means it's the X height of your M character. Well, what does that mean? It basically means it's your default size is 1 M, okay? And if you shift up to higher M levels like 1.5, 2 M, 3 M, 4 M, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. 26 M, it's pretty obnoxious. 26M, that's 26 times the default size. But boy, that font looks nice when it gets really big. All right, so I'm going to set this to 100%. That means it's going to be its default size. That's how you set font size. If I want to go a little bit bigger, maybe I'll just go 110. There we go. That looks nice. That's font size. Font weight. Font weight controls how heavy or thin a font is. Two of the values we can use are bold and light. Okay, bold is going to make it bold. Light is going to make it light. Light is the default, so I don't even need to put that in there. But if you want to make something bold, font weight bold. All right? Now, we'll move on to font family. Font family is going to control what we would normally call the font. You know, we call fonts Helvetica, Arial, Times New Roman, Baskerville, Futura. Those are all different font families, what we always call fonts. Okay? We could choose font families by picking the name. Well, how do you know which name to pick? That's where it comes in a little bit, where it gets a little tricky. There are certain fonts that are web safe and certain fonts that are not web safe. What I mean by that is there are certain fonts that if you choose them, it's almost certain that every single computer out there is going to be able to display that font correctly. There are other fonts out there that are not web safe. In other words, if you choose those fonts, there's a good chance that they might not show up in the browser correctly on most computers. This depends on what fonts are installed on the computers. There are some fonts that are installed on almost all computers, and there are some fonts that are installed only on certain computers, and some fonts that are, installed on almost no computers. So how do we know which fonts to use? Well, there are resources out there on the internet that can help point you in the right direction to web-safe fonts. If you just do a quick search for web-safe fonts, maybe even web-safe fonts 2016, you'll get some websites that will tell you what fonts you can use. Here's one, 16 gorgeous web-safe fonts to use with CSS. We'll take a look at that in a second. That's from webdesigndeb.com. Another one that I really like is a website called www.cssfontstack.com. cssfontstack.com is going to be a list of fonts, and it'll tell you the probability of it being safe for a computer. For example, if I go to Arial here, it says there's a 99.84% chance that a Windows machine will have Arial available to us, and a Mac, 98.74% chance. Avant-Garde, Windows, 0% chance. So pretty much no Windows machines are going to have Avant-Garde installed on it. Mac, 1.08% chance. So not very good chances for having Avant-Garde on your computer. Let's look at Trebuchet. Windows, 99% chance. Mac, 97% chance. That's pretty good. Verdana, 99% chance. Mac, 99% chance. Those are pretty good. When you're choosing fonts, you want to choose fonts that have a high probability of showing up on both Windows and Mac. Okay? So I'm going to start with Arial Narrow. And if I want to use this font, I can just click on this little copy button here, and it'll copy it to the clipboard. In other words, it's going to be in my computer ready to paste. Click OK. Come back here, and then for font family, paste it in. Font family, Arial Narrow, Arial sans serif, and you'll notice that there's no semicolon there, so we always have to put the semicolon at the end. Save it, refresh it in the browser, and now you'll see my font is Arial. Here's what it looked like before, where it was Times New Roman, which is the default. Now it's set to Arial. I kind of like these sans serif fonts for body copy because it's really easy to read in the browser. This gets a little bit condensed, and things get a little bit fat looking. So I like to just go with a sans serif, something really nice and fine. Font family. So that's font stack. Let's take a look at some other ones. Sans serif fonts are going to be these ones like this that are very hard edged, and they don't have those little feet or serifs on the end of them. Serif fonts are things like Caslon, Bodoni, Book Antiqua. Let's look at one that's going to be available on almost all, and that Palatino is a good one. So I'm going to click on Palatino, copy it to my clipboard, come back over here, and I'm going to set my H1 and H2 to have Palatino. H1, comma, H2, paste it, make sure that I've got my semicolon. You might notice there's a long list of things here. Palatino, Palatino Linotype, Palatino Light Standard, Book Antiqua, Georgia Serif. What this is doing is this ensures that we're going to get a font that is either exactly like the one that I picked or one that's very similar. Because browser defaults might not be anything like what you want, and if the browser cannot find the font in the system that you've chosen, it goes to the browser default. Let's say the browser default is Times New Roman. Well, you wanted to have Arial, which looks nothing like Times New Roman, and the browser defaults to Times New Roman. Your design is broken. So what we do is we give the browser a long list of things to choose from, and what it's going to do is it's going to look from left all the way to right and pick the leftmost one that it has available on its system. So for example, let's say my system does not have Palatino on it. It's going to skip over, but it does have Palatino Linotype. It'll use Palatino Linotype for my design. Let's just say that the system has Palatino. Great, it'll use Palatino. It uses the leftmost one that it can have. Let's say it doesn't have any of these Palatino ones or Book Antiqua, but it does have Georgia. So it skips over all of these, and then it gets to Georgia and says, hey, I've got this one. So it's going to use that one in your design. Let's say none of these are available. It will use the best available serif font in the system. Okay, so it's going to look through the serif fonts, and it's going to pick the one that's the default serif font, which is probably going to be Times New Roman on most machines. So the longer the list of fonts you give it, the better shot you have of the browser displaying the font that you want. All right, that's font family. So we've covered color, background color, font family, font size, and font weight. We've talked a little bit about the different kinds of values, from hexadecimal values to named colors. We've talked about font families. We've talked about font sizes and percentages versus pixels versus ems, and you found some of those resources online for choosing fonts. In future videos, we're going to expand on CSS. We're going to talk about more CSS properties we have available to us, things that will control white space, like margins and padding. We're going to talk about things like borders. And then later on, we're going to start talking about how we can use CSS to control the display level of different elements, so we can maybe make them force into columns instead of just being one tall column. You can have multi-column layouts. All right, thanks for watching.